What is up guys, I'm Tech, and today we're gonna find out if the Apple iPhone SE is still worth in 2020. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So when this device came out back in March of 2016, the iPhone 6s and 6s Plus were Apple's latest and greatest flagship phones, and Apple decided to have the iPhone 5s like form factor into a new iPhone 6s internals into a small body, and this is when they came out with the iPhone SE. And a lot of people seem to like the iPhone SE, especially consumers that were already a big fan of the smaller form factor from the iPhone 5s, and at the time this phone had top-notch specs considering its small form factor. But how well does it stand up against its newest competitors, and is it still worth after 3 years? Well, let's find out. Let's start off by talking about the iPhone SE screen. It has a 4-inch Retina display with a resolution of 1136 by 640 with 326 pixels per inch. And I do have to admit that the iPhone SE screen is not the best, especially in today's standards. You will be able to tell a huge difference if you are coming from a phone that has a 2K screen, like for example my Galaxy S9, and it's just not as sharp, but then again it's not completely trash to the point it's going to fully disappoint. I guess I'm just used to Samsung's beautiful Super AMOLED displays, but we all know that Samsung has been killing it when it comes to their screens. So if I want to buy an older phone in 2020, I want to make sure that the battery life still holds up in today's standards, and the iPhone SE has a 1624 mAh battery, and considering the small battery capacity, the battery life isn't completely terrible, but then again it's not the best when compared to phones that are currently coming out. But I do have to say that for a 3-year-old phone, it was pretty good. So you are getting up to 4 hours or sometimes even more of screen on time. So this means watching YouTube videos, social media consumption, etc. And I think the reason why you are getting decent battery life on this phone is because of the small 4-inch screen. You are needing less power as opposed to having a bigger screen. Since this is a 2016 phone, you still have pretty huge bezels on the display, and honestly I'm not a big fan of huge bezels, especially in 2020. So this right here will automatically give you the look that you have an older device. But if you really don't care about bezels, then you shouldn't have to really worry about this issue. But I just wanted to get that out of the way. Now, one of the most important things when it comes to buying an older phone in 2020 is that it needs to have decent specs even in today's standards, because there's a lot of apps out there that are currently coming out that require a lot of power to run them smoothly without any crash or lag. The iPhone SE was released with iOS version 9.3.2, and since Apple has really good iOS support, it is currently running the new iOS 13.5. It has Apple's A9 chipset with dual cores at 1.8 GHz, and speed and performance is pretty decent even to this day. Of course, you're gonna experience some lags and stutters at some point, but for the most part, this chipset still does the job, especially in 2020. The iPhone SE comes with 16 gigs, 32 and 128 gigabytes of storage, and I personally wouldn't recommend picking up the 16 or 32 gigabytes because you're gonna run out of space quicker than you think. So it makes more sense to go with the 128 variant. The iPhone SE has a single 12 megapixel main camera with a f2.8 aperture, and overall the camera quality on this device is not disappointing. The camera has dual tone flash with HDR, so you are expecting to get some pretty decent pictures and videos out of this camera. Speaking about the video, this phone can record 4K at 30 frames, and it can record in 1080p up to 120 frames for those super slow-mo shots, and 720 at 240 frames, but I wouldn't recommend to shoot in 720 because the video quality isn't the best. It just looks muddy and not high quality, but overall the 4K on this phone is pretty impressive. It's sharp and crisp and definitely nice to see. If you love taking selfies, this might not be the phone for you because the front-facing camera is not the best. It only has a 1.2 megapixel camera, and overall it just doesn't look good, and it's not completely trash to the point it's gonna fully disappoint. But then again, it's not the best compared to phones that are currently coming out, but for Snapchat and social media, I guess it gets the job done. So in conclusion, is the iPhone SE still worth in 2020? Even though this is almost a 4-year-old phone, I was surprised by how well it keeps up when multitasking or playing games on it. Like I said, you will experience some lags here and there, but for the most part, it gets the job done. So in conclusion, is the iPhone SE still worth in 2020? Even though this is almost a 4-year-old phone, I was surprised by how well it keeps up with multitasking or playing games on it. Like I said, you're gonna experience some lag here and there, but for the most part, it gets the job done. Obviously, since it is an older phone, you are not getting some of the new features that you are getting with new phones, like the waterproofing feature, the newest Gen Touch ID, Retina HD display, and wireless charging, and things like that. But if you really don't care about all those new features, then I highly recommend the iPhone SE in 2020, especially right now, because you can get this phone for like under $100 on eBay, which is a steal. So you are still getting a lot for your money. But yeah, this was by no means a full in-depth video review of this device. These are just some of the things, the most important things that I think you need to take into consideration when buying this device in 2020. But as always, if you guys want to see the full video or the full review of this device, let me know down below in the comment section, and also make sure to leave a like. Also, let me know down below if you have any questions. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. Peace.